Hey guys, how are you doing? And welcome to the Live Well live stream. This is Dr. Mike Roncesvalles. Really glad you're with me. We had some technical difficulties. We're getting on about 8 minutes late here. Sorry about that. So hopefully you guys are sticking with us through this. Super excited to kick off our challenge with a live stream today. Stress less is our goal for the next 10 days. We're going to help you have some strategies and be able to lean into some very practical things you can do every day to just stress less. So I know that we live in a world where stress is just a part of life. And I know also that in some ways we just kind of own stress as almost a badge of honor. You ever talk to somebody at work? How you doing? Oh man, I'm stressed. I'm super stressed. Talk to your family members or your friends. What's going on? You busy? Oh man, I'm so busy. We tend to feel like if we equate busyness and stress and pressure and tension, that somehow connects to meaning and purpose for us. It's just a real sickness, I think, in our culture. And I am so excited about what we're going to do on this Stress Less Challenge because it is going to give you some things I hope that are brand new for you, research-based, outcome-based, that allow you to live a less stressed life. And that's really what we all need. You think about technology, you think about the pressures of our world, it's a pressure cooker. So we want to give you some really healthy things you can do to begin to put yourself in a position where your life just shifts, you crush the power of stress and anxiety in your life, and you live the life that you've always wanted. So today, I'm just trying to hype you up a little bit, trying to give you a little bit of a teaser on what's going to happen over the next 10 days on the Stress Less Challenge. So I'm going to jump into the content and hopefully you guys will stick with me. We're going to do maybe 30, 45 minutes tonight, and then I'll give you some clear direction on how you can start the challenge and be a part of this Live Well coaching community. So here we go. You ready? Start with the idea of what stress and anxiety really is. Stress is not just your thoughts. A lot of people think that thoughts are the core of your stress, that they are the sum total of your stress. And the truth is thoughts matter, but it's not the sum total of what creates stress in your life. And so a lot of times people make a mistake, and you'll hear people say this all the time. I do in therapy when I'm doing therapy in the clinical office at our Live Well clinics. Stress is all in my head, Mike. I know it. I get it. That's just a mistake. It's a mistake to recognize that or to verbalize that. Another mistake is saying thoughts don't matter at all. It's all the nervous system. The best answer is both are important. The idea that there are some physiological things that happen in your body that create stress, that's true. The idea that stress takes hold in your mind, that's true. So it's how these things work hand in glove in our life that ends up creating the stress response in our life. So stress involves what I notice, what I predict, what I feel in my body, what I do next, and honestly, what I believe deep down about myself, my life, and my future, right? So thoughts don't create all anxiety and stress. That's not true. But thoughts absolutely shape your stress. They shape your experience of stress every day. So let me explain this to you. Say we have two people that walk into the same exact situation, right? Same exact environment. One person can think, man, this is uncomfortable, but it's manageable, right? I can deal with this. I know how to ride this out. I know how to cope. The other person can think, man, this is going to go badly. I know this is not going to work. I know I'm going to look foolish. I know it's a matter of time until I'm rejected. Those people are not having the same emotional experience anymore. So if you're walking into the meeting, if you're walking into the party, everything as far as your triggers for stress are exactly the same. But two people experience their thought life differently And then that creates the process of stress that unfolds in your life. And so there's a little therapeutic tool that we use in the clinical office. You've probably heard of it. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy. If you've not, then you're kind of missing the boat on therapy, because CBT, as we call it, has been the gold standard treatment in empirically validated therapeutic situations for decades now. And cognitive behavioral therapy is built on this idea that there's simply a connection between your thoughts and your feelings and your behavior. And so I think what we've got to do is we need to understand how your body activation of stress and how your thoughts kind of come together to create hand in glove the experience of stress minute by minute, moment by moment. So we're going to jump into that a little bit. And remember, everything I'm telling you tonight, it's a teaser for the next 10 days. So if I'm starting to say some things that get you interested, like, okay, maybe this has some relevance for my life because what he's describing is consistent with how I experience life, hold on, because we've got tons more information coming in the next few days. So here's the model I want you to understand. Whole cognitive behavioral perspective on stress starts with an understanding of our situation. So something happens, right? Something even in your environment happens, in a relationship it happens. Maybe it's a certain situation that you're dealing with, or maybe it's just the idea that it might happen or it could happen, or it might have happened but you're not sure it happened. But you have this moment where you're entering a situation, relationship, or environment and it feels uncertain. And then we have thoughts, right? And your thoughts can look a lot different, man. Thoughts can look like, what if this goes wrong? What if I embarrass myself? What if what's going on in my body right now, my heart rate, tightness in my chest, what if that means danger? What if I lose control? What if I just can't handle what happens next? All those thoughts, that's the battleground of your mind. Now remember, I'm not saying stress is your thoughts. That's a mistake. I'm not saying think happy thoughts. That's not going to be the point of the Stress Less Challenge. That's not the point of tonight. What I am saying is your thoughts are involved. And you can take a situation and your thoughts will begin to sort of engage the process, and it will create stress that simply is very difficult for you to deal with. So if you've got a situation, you've got some thoughts that are a part of the process at least, then you have some feelings. And describe the feelings that come along with stress. Obviously, stress is an emotion. But there's some other things that happen that are clearly connected to stress. Dread, fear. You go into a staff meeting, you've got to present, and your negative thoughts start. That's a fearful situation. If you're used to fighting with your spouse and something kind of comes up at dinner or on the weekend, that can induce instant fear for you, right? Sometimes we've been dealing with stress so long, you have stress and helplessness, or stress and vulnerability, or stress and shame. And so the emotional components are really huge, because as you'll see in the Stress Less Challenge, that's the very thing that you're going to have to clue into if you ever want to manage your stress effectively, right? So you have situations, you have some thoughts that begin to get involved in the process, you have some feelings that are generated. It's either stress or stress plus, as I call it. And then you have to recognize there's some things that start to happen in your body. Now, this looks different for different people, but I'm going to name some things that you probably are very well aware of are connected to your stress. Things like a racing heart, tightness in your chest, shaky hands, your stomach is starting to hurt, right? Tension in your muscles, my back, I've got a migraine, shallow breathing. All those characteristic physiological response bombard us. And look, that's unique to you. How do you experience stress? I don't know. Might be one of the things I just mentioned, but it might be something totally different. We do know from research that stress does take hold in our body. That's a reality. That's a certainty. Situation, thoughts, feelings. some bodily sensations that go along with the whole process. And then finally, behavior. Now, what's the behavior? Avoidance, reassurance seeking, over preparing, checking, procrastinating, withdrawing, escaping, right? Prayer. Some of you are just like, oh my gosh, God, get me out of these situations. How many times have you prayed that? And then there's just the reality of how all those things start to interplay, right? So, as I said, I'm confident as you begin the Stress Less Challenge, you'll see how probably you key into one of those situations or relationships or environments or the emotion of stress. Some of you get caught into that. Some of you will get caught into the thought of stress and all the ruminating thoughts about how bad you are and how messed up you are and how hard your life is and how much you can't stand dealing with everything that's happening right here, right now. Some of you key into those body sensations. Some of you watch so closely, man, that you could probably predict a stress response simply by paying really close attention to your body. But my point is, the stress, because of all that, it starts to feel so convincing. Does that make sense? It's so convincing. That's why some of you are watching this and you know your life's not that bad. Intellectually, you know, man, my life is okay. I've got some things that are okay. Some of you have decent jobs. Some of you have relationships that you've maintained. Some of you have a spouse. Some of you have kids. You know, a lot of you can get in a car and push a button or turn a key and it starts. You have transportation. A lot of you have food to eat tonight. I mean, that's mostly the people that are on Live Well Coaching's platform. It's people that have some of the things, at least, that I just mentioned. Yet in the moment of stress, it feels so convincing that something's just wrong with our life. And it makes the wrongness feel so imminent and so big and so transcendent, right? It's so much bigger than these moments. And that matters because a lot of times people that are stressed out misread the intensity of stress and all the intensity that it brings. You misread that as accuracy. Does that make sense? You think because it's urgent or it feels urgent, it must be true. Because my body's activated, I must be in danger. Because I can't stop thinking about this and I can't stop ruminating about it, it must really, really matter. And so confusing the intensity of something with the truth of a situation, relationship, or environment is sometimes the trick, right? Like that's where stress starts to have such power in our life. But I'm here to tell you, and one of the whole principles of the Stress Less program that we're going to go through, this whole challenge, is that intensity is not the same thing as truth. Just because something is intense and it feels intense doesn't mean the thoughts are true. It doesn't mean that the bodily sensations that you're having are imminent and important and things are dangerous. It doesn't mean that the emotions have to have immense power in the moment. None of that. Stress is persuasive. It is. But it's not always prophetic. Isn't that good? Stress is persuasive. It's so intense, but it's not always prophetic. There's a lot of neuroscience that confirms this, and we'll tell you more about this in the Stress Less Challenge. But the neuroscience that's coming out, especially lately, describe pathological stress as involving abnormalities not only in the acute fear circuits of the brain, but also in systems related to sustained threat, reward, cognitive control, social processing. And so once these patterns are established, a lot of the maladaptive behaviors can further strengthen them. So that means your stress experience may feel global and convincing, but that doesn't mean it's an accurate map of your reality. And so stress has been lying to you. And it's been lying to you for days and weeks and months and years. And you're confusing the intensity and the signal of that intensity with, oh my gosh, everything that I fear is true now. There's got to be a reason that I'm stressing the way I am. And so that's where stress takes hold. Now you've got neurological patterns that are cemented in your brain, and you're much more likely to stress again in the same kind of situation, relationship, or environment. So it begins to be a massive, massive problem. As you know, right? That's probably why you're watching this, because it does tend to be a massive, massive problem as all that unfolds in our life. So now we need to make a really important distinction that's absolutely crucial, especially if you're going to pay attention to cognitive behavioral therapy and you really want to understand the underpinnings of the whole stress less challenge. And that's that automatic thoughts are absolutely pivotal in helping you cope with stress in the moment. Identifying your negative, maladaptive thoughts, the thoughts that lie to you in the moment about your stress, identifying them, understanding them, processing through them, and rejecting them is part of the process of being less stressed. So let's lean into that just for a second so you can understand what I talk about when I say automatic thoughts. Automatic thoughts are really the fast thoughts that go on inside your head right in the moment of stress. You know what I'm talking about? You get in a real stressful situation and then that running dialogue starts in your head. If you pay attention to your stress, if you pay attention to your thought life in the midst of your stress, you'll start to understand some of this. We have a running dialogue in our head all day, every day, by the way. Like we do talk to ourselves. That's part of being self-aware. So I'm pretty hungry right now. It's 7:27. I haven't eaten since lunch. I'm gonna go get some food when I'm done with this live stream. But you know what I'm not gonna do? I'm not gonna instinctively get up out of this chair without thought and just run to the kitchen, eat the first thing that's in my line of sight. That's what animals do, right? I have a dog, man. Dog is absolutely obsessed with food. This is the sweetest dog in the world. I'm telling you, great dog. But if food is involved, everything attached to this dog's personality is thrown out the window and the dog goes for the food. It could be Christmas dinner. If given the chance, she will take it for her own. Some of you have dogs like this. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Why? Because my dog works on instinct. It's just like ready, fire, aim, right? There's no insight. There's no self-awareness. It's all instinct. We're not like that as humans. We have a running dialogue. When I go to the kitchen, I'm going to think through, what do I want to eat? I'm hungry. What do I want to eat tonight? I wonder if is my wife, what did they do for dinner? I'll go ask her, hey, what's happening? What did you guys do? There's a process that I'm going to go through cognitively, and I'm going to walk myself through it in the battleground of my mind, right? Where is the kitchen? Let me go check it out. Is there anything sitting out there? I wonder where my wife is at. And the whole time I'm going to be thinking through, I'll ask her what she ate for dinner. That running dialogue works to our advantage most of the time. That's what makes us human. However, in times of stress, when we start to perceive we're in trouble, there's an issue, I don't know what's coming next, there's a lot of uncertainty attached to this, those are the moments that running dialogue can get really, really toxic. And so those automatic thoughts, that fast running dialogue is the very thing you've got to get a hold of, because that is what, if it's not inducing your stress, if it's not creating it, it is maintaining it and sustaining it. The research is really strong on that. So I think it's fair to say that those automatic thoughts almost feel involuntary. They're reflective, and that's what makes them feel so real in the moment. That's why the stress feels real. The stress feels like the truth because we're so used to talking to ourselves. Let me give you some examples. An example of an automatic thought. I'm walking into a Christmas party with a bunch of people that I've never met for my spouse's work. I'm making something up, obviously. My automatic thoughts could sound something like this. I don't know any of these people. What are they going to think of me? I hate talking to new people. They probably are going to think I'm lame. What is that tightness in my chest? Is that something bad? Maybe I'm just stressed, but maybe it's a heart attack. This isn't normal. Why do I feel it? That's a strange pain. I'm gonna fail at this. This is gonna be a tough ride home because I'm not gonna be what I need to be for my spouse. I can't do this. I can't stand that. That's a good one. I love working with that one with people in the therapy office. Like, I can't stand this. I can't handle this. Actually, you can. You did. You're in my office right now. You just went through this Christmas party a week ago and you're actually still breathing oxygen. See what I'm saying? It's those automatic thoughts that happen so quick. It's rapid fire. It's like machine gun level in your mind. Now, what we're going to talk about in the challenge is where those thoughts come from. Because if you have those thoughts, are you going to be calm? No. Like, it's impossible that you have the thought, I'm gonna be stupid. What is going on in my chest? Maybe I'm having a heart attack and this is gonna be awful and I can't stand it. You don't have those thoughts and say, but it's gonna be a great night. This is gonna be awesome. That's not how this works. If you have those thoughts, you are going to feel stress. And so the question becomes, okay, if the thoughts are at least sustaining the emotion of stress, maybe they didn't create it, but at least sustaining it, where do those stupid automatic thoughts come from? That is the question. We call them core thoughts or core beliefs. And core beliefs are interesting. I can't wait to teach that. I think I'm going to teach that in the Less Stress Challenge because that to me it becomes so pivotal because your core thoughts are the core ideas that you have about what makes you acceptable and worthwhile and significant and valuable and lovable. A lot of times you learned these core beliefs about the world from your family of origin when you were really little, or maybe it's your peer group growing up, but there's usually pivotal moments that someone has as their brain is developing and you're trying to make sense of the world. For guys, it can be all the way up to like 25 years old. And those pivotal moments are what really begin to shape you and shape your understanding of who you are in this world. The core beliefs become the lens through which you view everything. So think about, like, if you put rose-colored glasses on, everything you see is tinted with those rose-colored glasses. I used to get these, what do we call them? Little decoder Happy Meal prizes. Remember Happy Meals? Used to eat McDonald's like every day when you were a kid. We didn't know it was bad for you. I was telling my kids just the other day, like, I eat Happy Meals constantly when I was a kid. When my wife and I were dating, we'd go and eat McDonald's. What do you want to eat? Do we want to go get a nice meal, chicken breasts and some broth? No, let's do Mackie D's all the time. All right, so we established bad juju back then, right? Okay, so we've got the decoders when we were little kids. Do you remember this? You get the Happy Meal, and it had like this blank, like a red screen on it, and then you could put like another color film over the screen and it would decode the message and you could read the message through. I loved those things. And so that lens, that color that you would put on top of the code changed every message you were getting from the code. It changed the whole dynamic. That's what a core belief does. It changes the way you see the world. Everything is viewed through this core belief. Now, here's some examples of core beliefs that are typically involved in stress. I'm weak. I'm less than. I'm not enough. This world is dangerous. People are dangerous. If you give them the chance, they're going to hurt you. uncertainty is just not tolerable. I can't stand not knowing what's coming next. If I'm not in control, everything's going to fall apart. It's a matter of time until people reject me. I'm a fraud. Now, those core beliefs that's tough, man. When at your core, that becomes the lens that you're looking at the world through. So now does this make sense? You're walking into the Christmas party. Where do those negative thoughts come from? Like, why do I take benign situations? There's no reason that I feel this way about the party. There's no reason inherently about going with people that are probably pretty jolly. It's Christmas time. They're probably going to be pretty nice. They're right. I mean, in all reality, very few times do people just absolutely reject individuals they don't know. I mean, they might not pay you much attention. There might be some things that happen, but it's probably not going to be earth-shattering. Yet you walk in and all those automatic thoughts flood in. Why? Because you've got this lens. And you're taking a benign situation. It's just like the decoder at McDonald's, and you put this lens over it, and now you're seeing messages that aren't inherent to the situation. So you have to address at the level of your thoughts and your automatic thoughts. You have to beat back the tendency to just go negative all the time. But then you also have to get deep and understand where those negative thoughts come from. That's all the stuff we're going to talk about in this less stress challenge, or the stress less challenge. It's a way that you can get access to the same kind of information that we talk about with people in the clinical office, minute by minute, moment by moment. I've done this for years, guys. I've been dealing with people with stress issues for decades. That's one of my specialties. It's my bread and butter. I've written books about it. I mean, I love helping people with this, because when you get down to the core and you can understand the lens, and you're like, wait, I've got to begin to view myself differently in this world. I've got to understand where these core beliefs came from. I need to understand if it was a kind of a messed up situation that I had in my family, or maybe it was a messed up roommate that I had in college, or a girlfriend that broke up with me in high school. But some of you are still carrying those wounds, and they're the very things that have been the building block of your core beliefs. If you're ever going to live a less stressed life, you've got to put that stuff away. It's got to be healed. You've got to close the door on the past. And we're going to help you do that with this challenge. So, as you can tell, I can get into this. I like it because it works. So, all right. I think there's something that I want to talk about with the core belief piece, because I want to whet your appetite. I just mentioned I'm going to give you a bunch of beliefs that are core to a lot of people. I'm not safe. I'm not capable. Uncertainty is intolerable. I feel anxious. Something's wrong. My worth, is dependent on my ability to go in and make people happy. Whatever. Like all that is real. But what I have found in my anecdotal experience working with lots of clients for a long time in the clinical office is that there are three main categories that your core beliefs are going to fall under. Either you're going to be a people pleaser, and that's going to create a bunch of stress, or you're going to be a perfectionist performance junkie. You confuse who you are with what you do. Or you're going to be a control guy or a control gal, right? Like if either you're going to control other people in order to feel safe, or you're going to control yourself. But typically with stress, we can distill these core beliefs, no matter how many there are, down into one of these three categories. And a lot of times people want to say, I'm going to grab onto one of those and make it my own. That's my identity. It's really not like that, because sometimes we can be people pleasers in some situations. And then in other situations, we can be performance junkies. And then in other situations, we can recognize that ultimately we just want to control everything. We want to control all the outcomes. Now, you might be listening to this and you're probably saying, oh, yeah, I see that. My spouse is like that. Man, what a control freak. She can get a little loony, or he's such a jerk. Something, right? Be honest. You can see it in other people. Oh, my mom is such a people pleaser. Oh, it's really bad. It's sad. Yeah. Oh, my boss is a perfectionist. He just has such high expectations. We can see all this in other people. But what the stress less challenge is going to help you do is see it in yourself. It takes a lot of maturity. But I'm telling you, as we look at this, you're going to see that this is a piece of the puzzle. And especially as we look at the core beliefs and how they trickle up, is what I say. They, instead of trickling down, they trickle up out of the unconscious into your conscious awareness, and they drive your thoughts in the moments. That's when you have some power over your stress. So, all right. I think I'm gonna end here with just some real faith-based pieces, because as you guys know, we really try to make the Live Well coaching platform distinctly faith-based. Like, we want people to understand that we're clinicians, like we're trained. I'm a psychologist. It took a long time for me to get my doctorate. It was a lot of work. I'm not downplaying that. But part of what we want to do is we want to integrate your theology, your spirituality into your understanding of yourself and of your emotions. And that's where the power comes. There's such a massive improvement in people's outcomes in therapy when you integrate faith into the process. The APA, American Psychological Association, has started to recognize that, and they now say it's unethical to treat people unless you take their faith into consideration. So we really want to honor that on this Live Well coaching platform, and always make sure that we add the spirituality piece to it, because it can be such a game changer. It's a game changer for the automatic thought level when you look at stress, but it's also a game changer when you look at the core belief level. So as we teach you to intervene on every level, you're going to see that your faith can get really, really entwined in the process. So, I mean, one of the reasons the cognitive behavioral strategies overlap so well with Christian discipleship is that both CBT and the Christian faith care about what's happening beneath the surface, right? Scripture doesn't only address behavior. We know that. If you just address behavior, you're a legalist, you're a Pharisee. You're nothing more than a Pharisee. We know the Bible talks about your heart, your mind, what you believe, what we trust, what we worship, what we fear. I mean, it's all over Scripture, right? And I could give you 100 examples of how that's true. There's some scriptures I always go to when I'm talking to Christians about some of this. And, I go to things like Romans 12 that says, if you want to be transformed, you have to what? Renew your mind. You've probably heard that one 1,000 times, right? It's true. Like, that's the irony of all of it. That was written 2,000 years ago, yet cognitive behavioral therapy is built on that premise that if you want to change anything about yourself, you have to change the way you think. That is true. It's not that simple. That's not the whole story. It is an undeniable part of managing stress in your life. 2 Corinthians, the weapons of our warfare aren't carnal. They're mighty through God. They pull down strongholds. Until you do what? Take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. Philippians talks about whatsoever things are pure, holy, honest, just. If there's virtue or praise, do what? Think on these things. Proverbs says, as a person thinks in his heart, as core, so is he. It's so deep, man. Like, you think about all the stuff that cognitive behavioral therapists are teaching at Harvard and Stanford and the University of Florida and Michigan and Texas and Vanderbilt and Duke. They're all saying what the Bible has been talking about for thousands of years. The stuff is true, right? And so there's this simple point. CBT asks, what thought is shaping this reaction? Like, how are your thoughts driving your feelings, and how do your feelings drive your behavior? When Scripture's asking, what are you believing and trusting and rehearsing and bowing to in this moment? So I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting that your faith tells you just chill out, be calm. I'm not suggesting that. I'm telling you, your faith is telling you just stand in the truth while the fear is still loud in your mind. Like, that's the ticket. That's the reality of how this works over time. And we'll tell you about this in the Stress Less Challenge, how you do this. So I'll end with some examples here. So you got David, right? The Psalms are full of cognitive and emotional honesty. If you really want to understand that the Bible is, it's actually a very real book about the human experience, read the Psalms, man, because you can't get any more honest emotionally. It's just sometimes really raw. David talks about fear and threat and shame and despair and danger, but he also talks back to his own soul, right? It's not that far from the cognitive work that every cognitive behavioral therapist across the country, across the world, teaches their clients to kind of talk back to your fear, talk back to your stress. He doesn't vent. If you read, he reorients. Like, he thinking on the truth just reorients the process for him. You've got Elijah, after triumph comes collapse, right? Exhaustion. In his exhausted state, it changes his interpretation. And God responds not only with truth, but also with like care and food and rest and his presence and all. So you see in these stories the idea that God is here and he's with us in all of it, in all of the stress. It's remarkable when you look at the story of Elijah, how it's biopsychosocial spiritual. We do biopsychosocials all the time at our office. Like, you ask these people all the questions and you want to understand all the domains of your life. And man, read the story of Elijah, because that you talk about a human story. You talk about someone who lived out stress management in their life. It's Elijah. And the Bible never treats human beings as machines, never minimizes the experience of stress or any emotion, actually. And CBT doesn't either. And so the whole point of this is, you can't get caught in the idea that I just have to execute the strategies of cognitive behavioral therapy and then I'll feel okay. Because that's actually not true. You're not a machine that just can be programmed to think happy thoughts and be happy. I mean, that's not what life is about. But I'm telling you guys, we'll teach you how to appropriately be honest about your emotion. Be honest about how life sucks sometimes and how stress is real. But then know what to do in the moment to work through it, to get on the other side of it, to where it doesn't run your life. Moments of stress are natural, normal. You're never going to get rid of it. That's life. We live in a broken world. There is stress out there. A lifestyle of stress that runs you every day, all day long. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed. I'm pressured. I can't sleep well. I've got migraine. Like that. That's what we can work on. Frequency, duration, intensity. Those are the moments that if we can start to see progress there, that you can say, okay, I'm beating back the power that stress has in my life. Okay. Here's the last story. There's a lady, she used to speak all the time back in the day. Her name was Joni Eareckson Tada. I don't know if you guys remember her. She taught that fear and stress doesn't disappear instantly. She wrote about nights when she would lay in bed just whispering to God, like, I can't believe you're asking me to do this. as she had physical problems. Pain was like chronic pain was like a massive issue. And that's a really useful example because it's not like this mountaintop experience that she experienced every second of every day. That's not the reality of her life. It wasn't fake certainty. It is like, you read the stories and it's like fear meeting faith in real time, and how those things sometimes just are, it feels like they're at odds. And some of you might be thinking, man, there are moments where I do feel like, how am I a person of faith? And like, I believe all this stuff, but it just doesn't seem relevant for all my stress. And that's what Joni Tada Erickson talked about all the time, actually. But here's what this illustrates. Pain is real. The brokenness is real. Your stress is real. Your body is involved, right? You're interpreting whatever's going on in your life as a threat, and it might be. But trust is not the absence of fear. Trust is what Joni Tada Erickson reached for in the middle of the night. In the middle of her fear, she reached for trust. And that's where redemption happens, guys. When you can understand, I can hold both of these things at the same time. I can understand my stress is real. It's hard. It sucks. I don't like it. But in the midst of it, I can learn that there are strategies. There are things that are effective. There are ways that I can cope. There are ways that I can work through it. And as you hold those things together, that's when the freedom starts to come. We're going to teach you how to do all this in the Stress Less Challenge. So I've done a lot of challenges with Dr. Trevor on the Live Well coaching platform. I've taught hundreds of hours, actually, on things like depression, anxiety, addiction, stress, OCD. I mean, you name it. We cover it all. Of all the challenges we've done, this one kind of jazzes me up, man. I love the idea of helping all of you understand there are very real strategies that are going to help you begin to just break the chains of stress in your life. And all it requires is for you to check in for 10 days. Just check in for 10 days. Now, is this life-changing? You'll never be the same after the Less Stress Challenge. It will change the entire trajectory of your life. I mean, look, I get it. That 10 days of a challenge is the start, right? But I am going to tell you, if you execute what we talk about and you work on it, and we'll tell you how to make, after the 10 days, what you do next to just continue to work on these strategies. If you do the work, it could change the trajectory of your stress. It could crush the power of stress in your life over time. It could put you in a position where a day from now, a month from now, a year from now, a decade from now, you're living a different life that's not so full of stress constantly, not so full of pressure constantly. And if that's what we can accomplish in a 10-day challenge, is be the jump start for something that ultimately is just really redemptive in your life, man, I can't think of any better way to spend my time. Join the challenge. Do it. It just started today. So if you want to start it, go to livewell-coaching.com. If you don't have an account set up, this is a free challenge. Do it for free. If you are already on this platform, there's a billion things you could be doing right now. All the courses you could take, all the daily drops that we do. We're dropping daily content every day, every working day, 5 days a week. You can get access to information about depression and anxiety and wellness and addiction and relationships every day on the Live Well coaching platform. So I know you've got a lot of things that you could grab onto. I really encourage you, if you're involved in the platform, do this challenge with us. Be a part of that with our community, because I do not think you will regret the time that you spend looking at stress in your life. And we're just going to expect awesome things to happen. All right. All right. Thank you for bearing with us at the beginning with our technical difficulties. Glad that we were able to do this and that we kind of could launch this together. Again, if you're not signed up for Live Well Coaching, go to livewell-coaching.com. livewell-coaching.com. There's links on our YouTube page. You're probably watching this on YouTube. There's links on our Facebook pages, on our Instagram. Just get to that website, sign up, do the challenge. It's free. If you're already a subscribed member to Live Well Coaching, go to the library, enroll in that challenge. You are not going to regret taking time to work on your stress and to really begin to, at your core, crush the power that stress has in your life. All right. Thank you. Thanks, guys, for giving me a chance to just jump on with you, tell you a few things about stress. Super excited about this. Jump on there. I think you can start that challenge today. I think if you go right now, you can do day 1 of the challenge. Dr. Trevor, I think, taught that. So you got this. All right. Okay. We'll see you at the challenge. Do whatever you can to get healthy, stay healthy,